Welcome to Garden Sanity. I'm Laura, and I garden in Zone 7, Southern New Jersey. In a recent video, I showed you some really interesting plant combinations, and one of the combinations was the Rosy Posy Agastache, which had a little bit of a different purplish color to the Millennium Alliums, and yet somehow it went well together, especially with the little lime hydrangeas behind it. But now I added something very interesting. Check this out. I added a pop of yellow for unexpected garden harmony, and that's what I'm calling this video, because the yellow with the burgundy you would not expect would look very nice with these softer colors of the purples, with the beautiful ivory that's going to change to pink as the season goes on of the little lime hydrangeas. But it works. So the flowers are absolutely beautiful. And I really love the way there is such a contrast now between softer colors and these more vibrant colors. I mean, look down here. That's a great combination. And then I have two more over here. I planted 3 in this area, and these 2 you can tell need a little more water. We're getting some thunderstorms today, so they will be rewarded. And again, this is the rest of the Allium and Rosy Posy Agastache that I planted. And I did plant another Rosy Posy right here recently. So what I liked is that the edges that stay very dry now have the perfect bright pop of color. I do plant lantana here, as you see, but I really would love to have more perennials. Not have to go to annuals all the time if I want a real pop of color. But let me show you exactly how this whole thing started. So it all started in the backyard when I was planting the drought tolerant bed that's new this year. And one of the plants that I received from Walter's Gardens to trial in my garden is Golden Needles Coreopsis. It's a threadleaf Coreopsis. It's going to be new in 2025 by proven winners. And I'll give you a hint. You can find them right now here at the end of August in 2024 at greatgardenplants.com. And how do I know this? Because I just bought 11 of them. And they still seem to have some left. So this Coreopsis is part of the Designer Threads series. It's a brand new series from Walter's Gardens, and there's 4 varieties. And this one is Golden Needles, as I mentioned. And it is absolutely beautiful and a workhorse in the garden. Now, in a previous video, I mentioned to you that if there's a must-have perennial on your list for next year, it's this one. And now that I've bought 11 more, I hope I've really convinced you, because it blooms non-stop from late spring all the way to now. Here we are, the end of August, and it's not going to stop. And what's really great about this series of Coreopsis is that they have larger flowers than many other Coreopsis that are threadleaf variety, and they're mildew resistant, which means that if you've got humid summers like we do here, you're not going to have to worry about mildew. They're deer resistant, they're native, which is always nice to plant a native plant, and most importantly, you don't need to deadhead them in order for them to keep reblooming. But of course you can deadhead them, and that works just fine. So, as much as that's really fantastic that this has turned out to be a must-have perennial, how is it going to fit in the garden up here? This is the center bed, and these are some pictures I took when I was a little bit frustrated with this garden in midsummer. And what I was frustrated about in the center bed was this. This is my Fire Light Tidbit. This is one of 3. And you'll see it's not blooming. However, it's looking much better than it was. Let me show you. This is a perennial version of Ageratum, and you can see it's just about to start blooming. Actually, here's some blooms over here. So this is a late summer into fall blooming plant. Now you see how bright green this foliage is, and you can see the foliage isn't much different on this Fire Light Tidbit, and that's not good. It should have a darker green. And so what I came in here, you can see it's getting a little bit better. I came in here and I put some iron tone down by Espoma, and I did that around all 3 of the Fire Light Tidbits. I had to, because I did not know what was happening. This one's starting to look a lot better. When I looked closely, I realized that there were spider mites, and there were spider mites all over it, We've had a horrible summer. I know many of you have as well. But the spider mites, I think, also did a number on it. There's no blooms on these, so I came in with iron tone. And the reason I used iron tone is because it's a slower reacting iron product. But what's good about it is it doesn't stain your pavers. And you can see I have edging right here, and the water runs down to the edging, so I did not want to have any chance of any kind of red color staining the pavers. So these are getting better, which is great. But now I wasn't going to have any beautiful color from these tidbits, because this one over here, same thing. This one got really beat up by the spider mites, and I've been spraying. That's what I've chosen to do. So what I did, as you can see, is I added pops of beautiful yellow color. But here's what I did, because I wasn't sure, is this going to work? I cut off a piece of Coreopsis and I put it right next to the flowers here of Paint the Town Magenta, as you see here. I wanted to see, does it work? Does it go together? And I thought it did. And I thought, you know what? This bed has been filled. You know, you have the pinky winky hydrangeas that are absolutely beautiful, but they're a very soft color. You know, they're a soft white turning to pink. And then you have the peach drift roses, which aren't really blooming too much now, but they're more of a peach soft pink. If the tidbits were blooming, and hopefully they will be next year, I take better care of them, or Mother Nature helps me out a little bit better. So they will have pink flowers by this point too, and it's a lot of pink in this bed. I do get the late summer color of the perennial ageratum, and I do have the beautiful color of the geranium roseanne. But I thought maybe an unexpected pop of color would work. So I planted 6 of them in this bed. And I really like the difference. I mean, they're small now, but they're going to get about 18 to 20 inches high as they mature. And they're going to spread. If you just like look at this one, for example, this one's going to spread up to 22 inches wide. So it's going to fill in this space nicely. These are some lavender bubbles right in front, and they're a late bloomer, but I just planted them this year, so I'm not quite sure what they're doing yet, but we'll see. But that'll give me another purplish shade right here. And this is Veronica Georgia Blue, and this is a spreading ground cover that has beautiful blue flowers in spring into early summer, sometimes sporadically in the summer, but this is just getting started, so again, not worried about that. But you can imagine in future years, in fact, I'll put a picture up of what this looks like mature. See how pretty that is? So I'm looking at this section right here, and in fact, let's mark this. We're gonna look at this section this time next year and see what it looks like, see what the improvement is. I know it's a year away, but it's a good idea to take pictures, I always say that, and then you can see your progress, and that's what's most important. And here at this end, you can get a really good shot here of what the Coreopsis looks like with some of the peach drift roses that are blooming. That's just a really nice shot. And I plan on adding a couple of lavender bubbles in this section too, just to mirror the other end I just showed you. So this is my unexpected garden harmony in this bed right now, because the yellow with burgundy centers is very unexpected. You wouldn't expect to see that in a garden full of soft colors. But I absolutely love what it does. It's going to be a nonstop bloomer all summer, a pollinator attractor all summer, and the Coreopsis with its beautiful yellow and burgundy color is going to take us all the way into fall, because these definitely look perfect with fall colors. And so it's going to be a great transition plant as well. But I didn't stop there. I have one more section to show you right down there. I have been playing with this corner, I think since 2014 when we first had this landscaping put in. Yeah, I've got that white pipe over there, and I keep meaning to paint it. I keep meaning to cover it. Have I done it? No. And then I think to myself, well, maybe I don't want to cover it. I want to put plants there. So that is still on the list. It drives me crazy. But in the meantime, I wasn't sure what to do. down here, let me just go in there. You see that? That's a white salvia. I don't know the name of it. It looks sort of okay. It's an older variety. It looks okay in the early summer, and then it doesn't do much at all. In fact, this right down here, these are the other two of the white salvia. Beautiful, right? So I think they're going to come out. I've moved them twice already. I'm not really happy with them. So you see this Rosy Posy Agastache. I added that earlier in the summer just to see if this was a good dry area. And it is. And so now I added 2 of the Golden Needles. So here's a beautiful close-up of the flowers. And again, this is just newly planted. Imagine when these are 22 inches wide. It's going to fill in this area nicely. And you got some new buds forming. And yeah, you could come in, you know, and you could snip off these blooms if you need to. But you know what? I started out by not deadheading them at all, and they still rebloom just like they're supposed to. Now going back to this photo where I said, gee, would this color combination work for the Paint the Town Magenta Dianthus if I had the Coreopsis right next to it? You know, I needed to see if the yellow would go with the fuchsia pink. Well, hello. I already have this combination. And this is exactly what happened to me, is after I did that little experiment where I have a tiny flower next to another tiny flower, I stood up and I started walking up this path and I just burst out laughing. I'm like, hello, Laura, you got your example right here. So in a sense, the garden could have inspired me with planting something similar color-wise. And I say could have because I obviously didn't pay attention to it. But look how pretty this is. Let me back up. That looks beautiful. That's the Black-Eyed Susan Goldsturm, and these are my knockout roses. And both of these have been going strong all summer. For me, the Goldsturm's been blooming last year and this year. It started much earlier. It started, I'd say, oh geez, early July. It's raining harder now and the sun's out. You can see the sun reflected on the fence there. Anyway, so yeah, the Goldsturm have been blooming. I wish they would go more into the fall, but they're not going to, I don't think, although they still look pretty good. And then you've got the beautiful knockout roses. So it's starting to rain harder now. And so I will leave you with this beautiful shot of my little lime hydrangeas starting to turn pink. Until next time, happy gardening.